morning. Good morning, Mo. It's good to see you. I just realized, oh my gosh, I'm late for Monday Motivation, so I'm trying to get back on track now that I'm pretty moved in. So, welcome. Now, if you watched my last live last week, there was a lot more mess in this little area we're calling a den. So, it's looking better. We're not there yet, but it's getting better. But Monday motivations. Okay. So what do I want to say today? I have so much. So we had our first in-person gathering in our new house, which we call the Eagle's Nest, a vision we got years and years ago about just a gathering and a place of respite and a place of vision. Yeah, you're late. I'm late and you're on time. That's right. And so we had some vaccinated friends over and we just had a wonderful time. They came over Saturday and it was just so wonderful just to have in-person conversations, to sit around the table and eat, of course, and just talk and then worship and pray and just hear each other's stories in for some of them for the first time and just worship. And my fingers are sore from playing the guitar, but that's a good thing. And just Sunday morning together, just taking communion together and watching our church for all members of the same church, just watching it online and just enjoying each other and then having more worship and fellowship with some other folks that came over later in the day. And it was just really a beautiful thing. And last night, Susan said, does the house feel empty to you now? And I'm like, yeah, because we always have been that, like, we always have a room open for you. So there's always room at the inn somewhere, maybe on an airbed, but there's room. And so we just had fun, and it's a gorgeous day here in Ottawa, Tennessee. So what do I want to say this morning? What can I say to inspire you for your week? There's so much, because there's just so much going on in my own life, and it's all good. But I think that there's an element of being vocal about what it is you're feeling and what you want. So I'm going to get serious for a moment. Don't wait to assume that hey, Bob, I love you. You can check the replay. Don't wait to assume. You should come visit us, Bob. Don't wait to assume. If you think, I'm talking to me, if you think that somebody is thinking something about you or whatever, that a lot of times we don't have conversations because we're waiting for the other person to approach us. Understand what I'm saying, Mo? Like, well, if they have a problem, they should talk to me. Or if they have a question, they should talk to me. And I've done that even recently. And it's kind of like, but all it kind of does is create the stress of wondering. Have you ever been in the stress of wondering? Like, you say it doesn't bother you, but it does. And you say somebody, and so I'm just speaking for me, like, there's a stress in the wondering, and I can get like to where I forget all about it, and then something brings it up, and then I'm right back in it. So it's almost like, have you ever fooled yourself into thinking that something is resolved in your heart or resolved in your mind, whether it involves somebody else or not, but then when it comes back up, you're like, oh, you are right back in it. So you might have like made yourself numb to what the issue is, but you haven't actually resolved it at all in a way that's going to maintain peace in your soul. So I guess my nugget of wisdom or my encouragement to you would be, if there's something lingering, it's kind of like a bruise. When the bruise is big and purple and everything, like I recently fell while I was in Houston, and I look like a car accident victim or something. I'm like, I've just got these bruises. And when there's a bruise, you know that there's something internal going on, right? There's been damage, there's been trauma. And then the bruise kind of goes, from purple to lighter to lighter to lighter, or yellowish or brownish or whatever. And then it finally disappears, right? Because the trauma, is for the most part healed. But sometimes we just linger around with that really light shade color or bruise, like, oh, it's okay. I can kind of tell it's there, but I'm okay. Now I'm speaking to somebody besides myself, right? It's like, okay, it was really purple, and now it's light purple, and now it's a different shade, and I'm better now, But the thing is, if there's still coloration there, who knows what I'm talking about? If there's still coloration there on your leg and stuff, the trauma is still there. It might not be as severe. It could be on its way to healing, but it's still there. And so just using a bruise as an illustration point, I know for me, sometimes I get in the rut of doing that with what's in my heart. Oh, it doesn't hurt as much. Oh, I'm okay. I've worked through that. But yet when something comes up and brings something to the surface, I'm like, ouch. I'm like, oh, okay, there's actually still healing that needs to happen there. And if it involves other people, if they're not going to come forward and say X, Y, Z, then if I want the bruise to truly be healed, then there's probably going to be some action on my part that I don't want to take. Because even though I'm outgoing, I don't like confrontation, actually, which anybody who knows me might go, oh, yes, you do. It's like, no, I really try to avoid it. And sometimes I avoid that at an expense of my own soul and an expense of my own peace. Has anybody else avoided? It's like we've made confrontation a bad word. The confrontation doesn't have to be yelling and screaming. I will avoid conversations, let's say it that way. I will avoid pointing out the obvious sometimes or speaking my thought because I don't want confrontation. But all I do is leave a bruise. It might be really lighter, but the bruise is still there. So for me, for this week, I need to dig into myself and with the Lord and say, what bruise is still there, and what are you going to do to at least address it on your part? Because I can only own my part, right? That's all I can own. I cannot own other people's parts or opinions, and sometimes that's really hard. But all that said, this was supposed to be a cheery video, but I guess it went somewhere else. But do you have a bruise? That's for all of you. Do you have a bruise that's not as dark as it used to be, but it's still there? Because if it's still there, there's still something there. So, and you'll know that even as you hear my words, you'll know that in our heart, you'll hear that, you'll feel that little sting in your spirit, like, oh, that little gut check. So listen, and I'm going to work on obeying that voice and making sure that I am right with myself and with people, even though I feel like I shouldn't have to. But every time I do that, then the bruise pops back up and says, wait, I've still got some yellow and streaks of brown in there and stuff. We're really not all the way healed. And I want to be all the way healed. What about you? I'd love to hear your comments. Have a great day. And remember to be you, because being you is enough. This is Authentic Deb. I'll see you soon.